The goal of the video is to show you how to maximize your Social Security check by doing just one simple thing. Let's get started and go over all the details. First of all, does maxing out your Social Security seem appealing? Verify. In this video, I'll go into the specifics of how you can actually achieve that. But clearly, the goal is to maximize your monthly income, annual income, and of course, lifelong income from Social Security checks. It does require some preparation and forethought, but I want to break it down for you and your particular circumstances. I also want to make sure that this is not confused with receiving the maximum Social Security payment, because there is a significant difference. In fact, as of the time I recorded this video, the maximum Social Security benefit is just over $4,800. To be completely honest, only a very small percentage of beneficiaries are able to attain that maximum benefit. That is, very few people get it. People do, but only a very tiny fraction of people do, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. With that said, let's get started and talk about how I can assist you optimize your monthly benefit for your particular scenario. Through all the information, but before we do, I would really appreciate it if you could do the following. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button directly below the video. It's completely free. So just know that I'm always available to you, standing by your side to advocate for you, respond to your inquiries, conduct research, and do whatever else I can to support you at this time. My goal is to assist you in obtaining as much money as possible from Social Security, and make the most of the various programs available for those on fixed or low incomes. There are many of them. So once again, thank you so much for being here with me. If you haven't already, please subscribe below. Please feel free to share this video with your friends and family using the share button located below. I sincerely appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. Let's discuss the specifics. There are a few things we need to first and foremost. We must ascertain what factors would actually determine the maximum amount that Social Security can pay out. First things first, we must understand Social Security regulations. So once more, if you choose to participate in the game, be aware of the guidelines and so simply make the most of the regulations, correct? As with everything though, the trick is to follow the rules, and if you know them, you may actually win. The same is true with Social Security. Now, by the way, I want to bring this up quickly. It has to do with Social Security retirement benefits. Alright, so in a sense it also relates to SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, though the formula's computations differ slightly. Still, it does, I suppose, relate in a slight way to SSDI benefits as well, but that's what I want to talk about first. To that end, let's first examine how Social Security determines your monthly benefit amount. There are many different factors that go into this process. There are many variables at play here, but allow me to highlight a few of the most important ones. First, we must determine when an individual is eligible to retire fully. For those born in 1960 or after, that age is now between 66 and 67. It's 67 years old, right? However, keep in mind that there are reductions that apply if you receive your benefit before reaching full retirement age. I've discussed this numerous times in previous videos, so you have to take that into account. Alright, so next up, a significant determinant that we may also impact in the future is 35 years of work experience. Now keep in mind that Social Security uses your 35 highest years of pay and applies an algorithm known as Target Average Indexed Monthly Earnings. Allow me to clarify fast. What they do is take a look at your 35 highest years of income and inflate everything to the current rate of inflation. Once everything is indexed to inflation, they average it out monthly to find out how much you made overall. They have been doing this for 35 years. I know that sounds a little strange, but that's what they do. Based on this information, they have a formula to calculate how much benefit you will receive. Nonetheless, keep in mind the 35 greatest years. Let's just assume that you have been earning money for 25 years, with the last 10 of those years being zeros. Again, it's okay if you don't have 35 years of work experience. Not many people have, in fact. There are many of people in the world who have not earned money for all 35 years, which is acceptable. However, zeros, keep in mind that when we work with averages and numbers, adding a zero to an average significantly lowers the average. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here, which is that we want to lessen those zeros. Keep in mind that this is something you can understand without having to be a mathematician, but once again, if we're taking any numbers and we're averaging them out, any zeros or low numbers once more, with zeros in particular having extremely low averages. All right, so when we examine the entire scenario, we can see that we have 35 years of the highest income, but you may have 25 years, 30 years, or 40 years if you have. There are 40 years of income to track, and what they're really looking back on is that they're only going to count the 35 highest years. They'll reduce the 5 years with lesser salaries and not count those years, only counting the 35 highest. Years again, that's fantastic. But there's something I want to quickly bring up, and the reason I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It will require some organization and forethought, but any years, oh, by the way, you can. You may view all of this information by logging into your Social Security account on the Social Security website, but if you have less than 35 years of service, you may have a pending zero or in-zero income for those years. Trackable income is something that Social Security will review, so even if you can replace those zeros with any kind of income, $1, $10, $100,000, or anything else, it won't make a big difference in the calculation. However, even if you can during those years, you worked a little bit and earned some money so that we could, take the zeros out and replace them with even smaller amounts like 5, 10, 7, or 15 that don't have to signify anything. Doesn't imply you have to go out and earn $1 million these days. I'm not claiming that at all. In fact, they factor this in a tiered approach such that the first sets of income are really lower. The lower the income that arrive have a greater impact than those with more incomes. Now, to give you an illustration, let me just toss out some random numbers. When it comes to these equations, the first $20,000 of income has far greater influence than the last, say $70,000. It makes some sense. So let's suppose someone makes $100,000. You don't have to use that example. I'm just saying let's use it as an example. All right, so the first $20,000 of that is far more impactful than the second 80%. Otherwise, my point is that you don't really need to make a lot of money, since when it comes to these equations for Social Security and maxing out these checks, the lesser dollar amounts, the first money that is earned, have a lot more influence. A few points to note here are, Social Security will use your wage history of fewer than 35 years to calculate your benefit amount. When they do this calculation, they attempt to calculate your average monthly earnings that are indexed. Therefore, you should ensure that we may potentially remove those zeros and enter something, even if it's $10,000, $7,000, or $5,000. $15,000 in income over the course of a year is equivalent to, say, $1,000 per month, or $800 per thousand, or $1,200 per month, or something like that. You'll work part-time and make that type of money, but once more, applying this formula, the Amy that I've been discussing in this video, will significantly increase your monthly benefit. Does that kind of make sense? Sense correct, that's sort of what I want to draw attention to, and yes, I fully understand that this requires some forethought and planning. You have to look at this stuff, and it might take years to remove those zeros, but every zero counts. Whatever you remove from this computation, you're actually increasing your advantage quite a bit. All right, so while it might take years to complete, you can remove every single zero and replace it with a number, even if it's only $7,000, $10,000, or something similar. I hope this helps. But one more, I want to break this down really quickly, because we always want to know, hey, what can I do to maximize my check? That's going to help your equation greatly. So can I make sense there? To be quite honest, there isn't much that beneficiaries can do right now, but there is one very easy thing that people can do. Additionally, SSDI beneficiaries should be aware of the requirements for filing claims. SSDI Social Security Disability Insurance benefits, which should not be confused with SSI, are slightly different in that, in order to get retirement benefits, you must normally have 10 credits. You earn 1 credit every quarter, and since these are dependent on your income, you essentially need to work for Social Security benefits for a minimum of 10 years. Retirement benefits are one area where SSDI isn't always necessary. Similarly, obtaining SSDI as a younger person doesn't necessarily require those 40 credits. I can discuss this further.